So Jim, what is meant when someone uses the phrase two-dimensional composition?
Two-dimensional means that an artist is working within a horizontal and vertical plane.
Mm-hmm.
I have an example of that here
Oh,
to
perfect.
show you. This is a two-dimensional plane. If you look at the top and sides, horizontal and vertical, and everything that you do, you have to work within that space. Now, you also have something else to work with as far as composing, is these 4 arrows that are shooting off. And this is all directional movement that the viewer sees, but they don't really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is two-dimensional. And so this is a square within a two-dimensional plane. And as you can see, there's a little bit of a connection with the corners here and here and here. So there's movement, and so that's a compositional technique to use to understand that you have the 4 sides of the paper and the arrows to deal with when you're composing.
Okay.
You can also compose a 3-dimensional illusion in 2-dimension on a 2-dimensional plane, which is what this is. And this is, of course, a cube. And so this is 2-dimension. But this is 3-dimension. And this is a 3-dimensional cube. This is the thing that's different between this and that is that 3-dimensional objects can cast a shadow. You can hold a 3-dimensional object in your hand, and it's not an illusion. It's here, you know.
Yeah, it's right in front of you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And of course, sculptors and ceramicists and anybody who works in this this format, architects, all think more in 3 dimension, and so that's good. Some people work in both, and some people sketch in 2 dimension and then take it to the 3rd dimension. You know? And so that's what this is.
And I hear quite a bit about the golden ratio when talking about composition. Can you tell us what the golden ratio is?
Yes, the golden ratio is a rectangle, and it's called the golden mean. Sometimes it's 1 to 1.618, and it was discovered during it was used during the Renaissance. We're not really sure who discovered it, but the golden ratio is a natural proportion or ratio that also is seen in nature, the way a sunflower grows.
Okay.
The golden ratio can be, if you break it up into certain segments, will create a spiral. And the spiral is called the Fibonacci spiral. And the Fibonacci spiral is also the way that sunflowers grow, and a nautilus shell, the shape of that spiral, it's all Fibonacci. How a hurricane actually turns when you see the aerial views of a hurricane, those spirals sometimes match exactly the Fibonacci, which is pretty amazing.
I recognize the Fibonacci name because in an art class that I had, we had to map out the like squares to be able to properly draw a Fibonacci spiral. And I remember it just being my least favorite part of the class ever because you had to use math. You had to plot out the correct size squares and then do the correct spiral, and I just remember being so frustrated with it.
Well, until you learn it, it's a little frustrating. It's kind of like driving, you know.
Right. So how would an artist utilize the Fibonacci spiral or the golden ratio in a composition?
Okay, well, you can start with with laying it out on your canvas and then working within those constraints, but sometimes that's a little daunting, and you can also do what you want to do, you know, paint it or draw it, and then you're looking at your composition and you're thinking there's something about it that just doesn't feel right. And so usually sometimes we'll put an overlay over the composition and put in the golden ratio there, put in the spiral, and it might show you that this tree has to be moved over a little bit to the left and it fits into this format because it's an ancient ratio, you know, and it has been proven to please humans.
Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. If you would like to see more of our content, click here or consider subscribing.